Welcome back to A Little Box of Paints. My name's Sophie, and today I'm going to show you a cool activity you can do at home with the entire family, regardless of age. It doesn't matter. This is the type of project that anybody can do. We're going to be creating name logos or letter initials using collage materials from magazines or newspapers that you can find around the house. Now, the reason I say this activity could be for anybody is regardless of your age, you can find a way to participate and get creative. It depends how much work you're willing to put in as a parent to spend with your child on this. So that's up to you. I'm going to show you how to do it, and I hope you're able to find some time to do this either as a family or maybe give this as an activity for one of your older kids who could be in elementary or even teenagers. It's really up to you. The materials you're going to need can all be found around the house. First off, you're going to want to look for some old magazines. I'm going to use an IKEA one because it's full of great colors and textures and patterns, and I don't really mind chopping it up. If you have nice design magazines or fashion magazines or even National Geographic, those can be great resources too. Just make sure you're really sure that you want to cut it up, okay? A few other materials you're going to need. If you can't find magazines, newspapers work well for this. I went into my recycling and I found a cool tissue box that I had broken apart that actually had a really interesting pattern or design on it too. So whatever you can find, you can use pieces of old wrapping paper, fabric, tissue paper, whatever works for you. You're going to need a piece of thin computer printer paper as well. And the reason I say thin computer printer paper is because when you actually draw the outline of your letter, you need to be able to see it on the back. All right, so a thicker paper won't work as well for this. What's optional too is a piece of colored paper for you to mount your letter on after you've cut it out. It doesn't have to be colored. White paper would work just fine too. All right, of course, since we're doing collage, you're going to need a glue stick, scissors as well. You don't necessarily have to cut out all the collage pieces, especially if you're working with a little kid. Some of the wee ones, they might want to tear their paper, which always has a cool effect too. And you're going to need a marker as well. All right, I think I'm ready. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how to get started. I'm going to show you, I'm going to speed up some of the process because I don't think you need to see me sitting here talking about how to collage. You can figure it out, and then we'll see what it looks like at the end. So to start, you are going to take your white piece of paper and you are going to draw a letter. For my first example, I did the letter S because my name starts with an S. But I think for my second letter, I'm going to do my second initial for my last name. So I will do a B. I'm using a black Sharpie marker because I like Sharpies. Any dark marker will work for this as long as you can see through the paper, okay? That's really important, so you might want to test that out first. Because we're using Sharpie marker and glue, you're going to want to protect your table. I'm using my mat, but newspaper laid out would work just fine for this. So I'm going to draw my letter here. Now, if you're not as comfortable with drawing letters, fair enough, all right? What you can do is you can just go onto your computer. You can either look online for examples of bubble letters, take that image, expand it on a Google Doc page or on Pages or whatever sort of word processing program that you use and print it out. Or if you find a font that you like in one of those word processing programs, you could do the same thing. You could just enlarge it to a really big size. Or you could wing it, just draw it in pencil first. That's what I'm gonna do, but I'm just gonna go for it in marker. Hopefully it works out. So I'm gonna draw my B, and it should be a bubble letter because you need that space in between to actually collage. Ooh, this is a pretty big B. I think this is gonna take me a long time. That's okay. So I've drawn the outline with my black Sharpie marker, and I can see it on the other side. And that's really important because that's how you're gonna know where to cut it out. Because when we collage, since we're doing it with little kids, there's a good chance, in fact, it's almost guaranteed, they're not going to be able to collage inside those lines. But you don't have to worry about it. You can collage outside the lines and then help them cut it out afterwards because you can see the lines on the back. That's the trick to this activity that makes it accessible for everybody. So next up, I have already torn out and cut up some paper from my IKEA magazine. I'm going to be using some orange pieces, some brown, and then some pieces from my, it's kind of more like a tan actually, and then some pieces from my old Kleenex box, okay? You can really start wherever you like. I usually start in the middle, kind of work my way out, but whatever works for you. Something that I think would be cool for older kids working on this to get them thinking about colors and how colors relate to each other is have them pick out different colors from the rainbow in their magazine or from the newspaper and try to organize them in their shape so similar colors are together. That could be a great matching game for younger kids too. It'll help them sort and organize before they actually glue them onto their paper. But I mean, it also looks cool to just kind of go for it sometimes, right? So I'm gonna actually start cutting mine here and we're gonna see how that goes. And yeah, let's see, I'm gonna cut and glue. I've got some that are torn and some that are cut. Like I said, if you have littler kids, they're gonna probably have some fun tearing the paper and you can help them glue it on. Or if you have older kids, they can take some time maybe cutting out different types of shapes. So we're gonna do this right now. And then when we come back, or actually, I'm going to do a bit of not stop motion, but what's it called? I'm not on it today. Oh man, I've done it in all my other videos. Time lapse. That's it. We're going to do a time lapse, and you can take a look and see how I do it. Okay. So I'm excited for you to take a look and see. And when we finish collaging in our piece, we'll come back and I'll show you how to cut it out and mount it onto another piece of paper. We're back. Some of you may have noticed that I was using a big piece of scrap paper that I have. I kind of keep for this type of stuff to use as a base for when I'm gluing some of those little pieces of paper. I find that's helpful because then you're not getting glue all over your table or your mat or whatever you're choosing to use. So that's just an extra thing you might want to have around. So I have finished the collage of my bee. You can see that I have gone all the way off the edges, totally fine, because on the other side, I can still see the outline of the shape that I drew. So now I'm gonna cut it out, glue it down onto my background color piece of paper, all right? When this is a part you're probably gonna have to help your little kids out with. When you're cutting, take your time, of course. It's surprising how many people don't really know how to cut. So I'm gonna just explain a few things. Hopefully you know how, but in case you're not sure, maybe this will help you out. When you're cutting, and you can explain this to your kids too if they haven't had a chance to learn it yet, you don't need to snip the entire scissors, okay? Just cut in the first kind of area where the two blades come together. You're really only cutting in small pieces, okay? Or small snips, I should say. Very rarely, unless maybe it's at the end and you want that satisfying sound, do you clip the whole scissor together. And another trick is, I don't turn the scissors when I'm cutting. I turn the paper. So if I'm cutting a straight line like I am here, I'm just gonna cut a few little snips. I don't close it all the way, okay? Now I'm ready to make my turn, so I'm gonna turn my paper. Another trick that you can do, I'm not having trouble with this, so I haven't done it, is when you're cutting a smaller object out of a large piece of paper, it helps to cut it down first and get rid of all that excess paper, okay? These are just small things that I think sometimes people either forget about or they don't think about, especially kids if they haven't been shown it yet. So that's something you can always work on at home with your little ones. Cutting and pasting is really great to help kids develop hand-eye coordination. You can even just draw some lines on a piece of paper, give your kids some safety scissors and have them practice cutting along the lines. That's something I remember doing in art class, but I don't know how often it's done nowadays. It really depends. I guess if you have a teacher, if you're lucky enough to have a kid who is in a school where they get art at a very young age outside of the classroom, that might be happening, but otherwise, I'm not really sure. So that's something you can always do at home to either reinforce what they're learning in school or kind of work on with them instead, just to kind of show them a few small things they might not have known otherwise. When it comes to things like this on the inside, there's really no easy way to do it. If you're handy and you have an X-Acto knife and a cutting mat, you can cut it out that way. What I usually do is I just make a very small, soft crease, not a full bend, little snip with the tip of the scissors, to cut a hole, and then I can place my scissors inside there to go in and cut around that spot. And this is where it's very important to only use that very front part of the scissors that's closer to the handle, okay? Because if you snip too much, you're gonna cut right through and you'll end up cutting a big hole into your B or whatever letter you're using. Of course, some letters you don't have to worry about this, right? It's like my S, I didn't have to. In fact, that was pretty easy to cut out, actually. All right, so I've done the bottom part. Moving on to the second part. Some of this cardboard is a little tricky from the Kleenex box, so I'm gonna just go nice and slow so I don't accidentally cut anything I don't want to. There we go. And my bee is finished. So now I can take it, and I picked this nice sort of sunshine color perhaps, and I will place my bee over top. I'm gonna glue it down. I'm gonna use my little piece, or large, I guess it's not very little, piece of scrap paper as a background so I don't get glue all over everything, especially the nice clean paper, in case maybe I wanna frame it. This is a cool activity you can always frame, put in a kid's room, right? And I'm gonna add a bunch of glue to the back, going crazy with the glue. Some of you might have been wondering about whether you can use white glue, liquid glue for this activity. You can, but it's gonna be a heck of a mess. But I mean, hey, why not get messy, right? White glue works okay, but I would say bite the bullet and get a glue stick if you can. It'll make your life a little easier. Especially for magazine paper, it works really well with glue stick. Glue stick doesn't work great for everything. But for this type of activity, it probably will. I'm gonna place it down, eye it out. If it helps for you to measure it out, you can, but hey, this is kids' art. Just let them place it down as they want. And there it is, okay? So I actually have two. One is a little more precise with some smaller pieces cut, and the other one is a little bit bigger, so you can see both sides. That's it. If you are a grown-up and you really like collage, but this was a little too kind of simple or free for you, in a few episodes I will be doing a little box of paints for grown-ups again, where I show you a way to do some collage that is a little more meticulous and precise and a little more grown-up. So keep your eye out for that. It should be coming soon. I hope you enjoyed this activity. If you end up doing it with your kids and your family members, please share the images with me. I would love to post them. You can share them on a little box of paints on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. You can send them to me on Instagram, add a little box of paints, and I would love to see them. The YouTube channel, of course, is also a little box of paints. I've got a few other videos up, hoping to put up more. I've got art for grown-ups and arts for kids and families. So take a look, see what's there. I hope you find something that gives you the opportunity to do a bit of creating so you can find some joy right now at home with your family or on your own. Take care, see you later.